Hey, welcome to Quick Takes, where we chat with industry leaders, dentists, dental lab owners, manufacturers, suppliers, to see how everybody's getting along during this crisis and what they think our post-crisis industry may look like. So today I have with me Reed Nunnally, who's the president of Derby Dental Laboratory in Louisville, Kentucky. Reed graduated from the University of Louisville with a bachelor's degree in marketing. He manages the day-to-day operation of the lab, and his passion for perfection shows in every product they manufacture. In 2012, Reed was selected as one of the top 40 under 40 lab owners in the nation. So with that, thanks for joining me, Reed. I very much appreciate it. It's good to see you as always.
Absolutely, Bernie. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, I have some general questions for you, but before we even begin, I always like to find out how you personally are doing, how your beautiful kids are doing, and what your life is like now.
Life is great. It's we're all getting used to. I don't know if it is our new world or our new normal, but it is for a little bit. So
Yeah.
we've got a couple businesses going. We've got home life, homeschool. I've got 4 kids at home.
Wow.
School every day. So it's I get into the office a little later than I normally do. We get started in the morning, spend some family time, then we get in, get home a little later sometimes, and wrap up the
Sure.
day and start it all over again.
Wow. Wow, that's a big load. I don't envy you that, but you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
No, it's good.
Uh,
It's all good. We've got um, it is what it is at this point. So we're all adapting.
Exactly right. Well, I know Derby Lab well, and it's a pretty good sized lab. Are you still open? You have a small staff. What did you do to compensate for this?
So we are still open. I think probably like most labs, we haven't been mandated to shut down. We are an essential service. But our customers have been basically mandated
Sure.
to do only emergency cases. And when we've kind of read into that, that means trying to keep people that would normally go see a dentist out of the hospital. If they felt like they had to go to the hospital, then the dentist can see them. So the traditional day-to-day is not happening. So we are, we've got about 130 employees. Well, we did. And we've slowly been reducing that as the workload has lightened up. We still get about, somewhere between 6 and 10% day to day of our normal workload is coming in. So it is significantly reduced in our traditional products. Our ortho business, we have a ton of business still. It's kind of interesting. Our local business has dried up a bit, but our international business has picked up. So we just picked up from a customer in Singapore, somewhere around 7,000 aligners that, in one day that we need to make. So that'll keep us busy for a couple weeks.
Wow. So I know your aligner business is great. Just from having spoken with you and I know what you're doing. I think labs should take a lesson from it because it is a great business, and I'm happy you guys are very successful. I would imagine at this point that there's fewer newer cases, but of course the magic of aligners is that you have to do lots of aligners, lots of models to make it happen eventually. So it's not a one and done thing. I imagine the new cases are pretty limited. Is that true?
They are, and I think it depends on the way that dentists are selling them. So we have some dentists that have cases in progress, right? You've started it, we've got the treatment plan, we're waiting to get the patient's approval. Telehealth has really taken come along in the last couple of weeks by leaps and bounds. I think teledentistry is going to do that a little bit, and ortho is one of those that you can kind of do remotely. A dentist, when they're being involved with the treatment of clear aligners, they're not adjusting the aligners, they're not seating anything. Being face to face with the patient isn't as vital. You could do something like this and have just as good a success of talking with your patient. So if you can get them in their first step, get them wearing them, get them the instructions, we are starting to ship some of our cases directly to patients. And then the doctor is doing a remote session with them to get them going.
Right. Yeah, that's a great business. I'm glad to hear you guys are still successful with that, and I know it's growing. So there's another thing that you're doing I've been recently made aware of to in the downtime as the laboratory is going through this crisis like everyone else. And could you tell us a little bit about it?
We are. So I want to say pretty early on when we saw our workflow going down, there were two sides of me. One was, oh my gosh, how are we going to, make a buck, and how are we going to keep our employees going and stay busy? And a lot of companies have been, I mean, right, life is kind of, we're on this, we all hit pause, right? We've been pretty fortunate, with banks and lenders and even some of our suppliers and equipment. People are deferring month, or two payments, really help out during this. And we're trying to do the same for our customers, honestly. So we know money's not going to be exchanging hands a lot. So as we've tried to look at what do we do when dentistry is shut down, I have a close family member who is a nurse at an ER, and we were talking, and she has had no protective equipment during this crisis. So she is frontline COVID patient treating every day, and she's not had an N95 mask or anything of the sort. We also have heard a lot of people who are provided an N95 mask, but it's supposed to last a week or two versus the couple days that you can really get out of it. So people are starting to bake them in their oven at a certain degree to disinfect them and stuff. And we're getting through all these creative ways to try to extend the life. So we started looking into what can we do as a company. We have 3D printers, and I think I saw on the news, it was saying, anyone that can manufacture something, and 3D printing companies. So it just kind of got us thinking. So we reached out to our partners, Carbon being one of them, and they were already starting to work down that avenue. So we have headbands for face shields. We kind of came up with a mask. We looked at a couple different files, tried to come up with what we thought would be best. And then we're starting on nasal swabs and different things like that for some companies testing out. So I think we started a little earlier than some. I posted some early videos on LinkedIn, and I'm not the most popular guy in social media. I normally have like 50 likes or 100 views or something. And some of the early videos on LinkedIn now have close to 20,000 views.
Wow.
So it was shared and a lot of interest. Local news companies have reached out to us and done some videos. We've been on the radio a couple times.
Yes, I saw that.
We're starting to provide PPE for as many people as we can. We're trying to prioritize for people that are more frontline. But we're doing, so right here we've got face masks that we're starting to do. Just you can put a replaceable filter. The challenge with this, at least on the mask, that we're just being cautious, is no one has N95 material. So you can try to put as nice a filter in there as possible, but that's not, it isn't an N95 equivalent. But what we've really seen success with is people that do have N95 masks, they just don't have enough of them. The mask is this big, or, they're different sizes. So a lot of hospitals have certain sizes that don't fit most people in excess. So there's more of those. So they're cutting them out into small sections, and now they can, out of their one N95 mask, they can get 4 replacement filters for this mask, and that 2 weeks is a little more, they're a little more protected during that whole time. We've also got face shields. This is kind of a carbon file that we've been working with. We have the plastic as well that we ship out with it. So that's a great item for dentists, as they are seeing emergency patients now. We've been getting a lot of requests for dentists and their staff. They might have some mask or some protection, but having that face shield in case any saliva or anything gets on the patient. And then to your, what we talked about before, we are starting to look at some nasal swabs with some different dental materials that are already approved for the patient's mouth, looking into sterilizing them and starting to provide those to some people as well. And that's kind of the crazy one, because we've talked with company. I mean, right now I've got a company that we're talking with that needs 3.5 million swabs. Ooh, they've been able to fulfill an order of 2 million of them. So there's millions of swabs that people still need. We can't mass like that, but when we look at our things, we can get about 50,000 swabs out a week. So it's putting a little dent into it. So we are staying busy with that. We've got a lot of employees working through that project. And at this point, with all the things that we're providing locally and the companies, we're really just trying to do it to break even. So that's kind of been our common message, that we like to stay busy, keep some employees going. And when we, at the end of the day, if we make a few bucks off of this, we're looking to donate it to some COVID charities or something like that.
Social responsibility, and what a great way to work for the community. So kudos to you in the lab. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So in these chats that I'm doing with everyone, the one thing I ask for sure is at some point we know we're going to be back. This will end. The question is, what is our industry going to look like? What do you think the whole dental laboratory industry will look like, and what changes there might be? And nobody has a looking glass, you know, and I understand it's kind of tough to see that, but you must have an opinion. What do you think will change?
That's something we think about probably every day, because there's all these programs out there, the PPP, and now the Lending Street, fund. There's the disaster relief, all these things that are helping us in the short term. I mean, that PPP funding ran out like 3 days after it opened. I mean, so it's to think about this lasting for, I think, and rightfully so, I think the way it's been presented to us as a society has been to minimize kind of the chaos that could ensue after a major change. So schools were out for a couple of weeks, and then they've extended I mean, I think we all know schools were out for the entire year at this point. They just didn't want to throw that big bombshell at us when we're vulnerable and scared.
Yeah.
So dentistry is kind of the same way, right? They've kind of shut down dentistry. One of the most prevalent articles that talks about the most risky places to be or to transmit COVID, dentistry was the #1 place. There's not as many dentists, so if you look at the scope of where it could be transmitted, it's much more through cashiers or different positions where there's a lot more people interaction.
Right.
Dentistry is top on that list, so there's going to be a true fear if and when we get back to normalcy, relatively short period of time. I think dentistry is going to be something that people are going to fear going back to. Also,
Absolutely.
when the economy, depending on how we come out of this, if people are, being more conservative with their cash flow and the consumer confidence isn't there, dentistry traditionally slows down a little bit anyway, especially the elective procedures and such. So
Exactly right. I think you're right. That's going to change.
I think it'll take time. I mean, I'm very optimistic in what I feel I can do or what we can do as a company. But when I look at society or government running efficiently and making all the right choices and doing this very well,
Right.
I don't know. So I think my personal opinion, and I don't want to, be the downer here. I think we're probably 18 months plus until we're back to a relative pre-COVID environment. I think we're probably through the summer till patients start coming back in some supply. And then I think we all need to do our part to try to make it a safe environment for that patient, for the confidence. And we'll see. I mean, I would love to say I'd have all my employees right back within a matter of weeks, but I just don't know. But again, sometimes just like with an environment like this, the fit survive, some don't, which is awful. That's going to happen to business as well. So there's a chance that some businesses won't survive this, and then some of the businesses that do will have more customers, or there'll be more demand on them, even if the average dentist does 70 or 80% of what they normally do. You might have more dentists that you need to serve. So it could come by a little faster.
Scary picture, but one that I think is fairly accurate, especially in a pre-vaccine world where we don't have the ability to ward this off. So yeah, I do agree with you. Sadly, I wish the picture looked better, but it's going to be a while. So Reed, thank you so much. I could go on talking with you for a long time. Wish we did have that time. But thank you. Very much appreciate your insight, and we'll be talking to you for sure soon. Good luck with everything.
Awesome, Bernie. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Take care, Reed. We'll see you.